We've all been fed this fairy tale, haven't we? When it's right, it's easy. The movies tell us that if you find the one, everything just flows effortlessly, like some magical river carrying you to happily ever after. But let me ask you this, has anything truly valuable in your life ever been easy? Think about it. Your career, your health, your dreams. None of them became great because they were effortless. So why do we believe that love, of all things, should be the exception? So the next time you hear someone say, when it's right, it's easy, remember this. The truth is, when it's right, it's worth it. It may not always be effortless, but it will always be meaningful. And that's far better than easy. A real relationship is not built on the illusion of effortless harmony, because two people coming together are never carbon copies of one another. Every single person carries their own set of beliefs, childhood experiences, fears, and habits into a relationship, and when those collide, there will naturally be friction. To expect otherwise is to expect perfection, and perfection does not exist in human connection. Many people run at the first sign of conflict, thinking it must mean the relationship is broken or not the right one. But in reality, conflict is proof that two whole individuals are showing up as they are. It is not a flaw, it is the canvas on which intimacy is painted. When one person has a need the other doesn't naturally understand, or when opinions clash, it is not the disagreement that breaks love, but the inability to work through it with respect. The strongest relationships don't come from an absence of fights, but from the ability to have hard conversations without tearing each other down in the process. When a couple starts to realize that love is not supposed to feel like constant agreement, they unlock a much deeper truth. It is in the moments of misunderstanding that we learn how to listen, how to set aside ego, and how to understand someone else's perspective even when it doesn't match our own. This doesn't always feel comfortable. In fact, sometimes it feels draining, frustrating, or exhausting to have to explain yourself again and again. But that is where growth lies, and that is where true intimacy is born. Without that willingness to face the discomfort, relationships remain shallow, dependent only on surface-level chemistry. Chemistry can bring two people together, but communication is what allows them to stay together. We must also confront the dangerous myth that if it's hard, it's wrong. Difficulty doesn't mean failure. It means two people are learning how to merge their lives. Think of it like two dancers who begin clumsy, stepping on each other's toes, moving at different rhythms. At first it feels awkward, but the more they practice, the more they tune into each other's timing. That's what building a relationship looks like. It's not always graceful in the beginning, and sometimes even seasoned partners will misstep. But those moments aren't evidence of incompatibility. They are opportunities to recalibrate, to choose again, to say, I value this enough to keep learning. So instead of chasing the fantasy of effortless harmony, we should embrace the reality that relationships require emotional work. The work is not punishment. It is the price of building something authentic and lasting. Harmony isn't handed to us. It's created through patience, honesty, and the courage to stay when things get uncomfortable. And in choosing to work through the rough edges, we don't just find harmony. We create a bond far stronger than any illusion of easy could ever give us. Imagine someone walking into a gym for the very first time and expecting the weights to lift themselves, the muscles to build without sweat, and the body to transform without effort. We would laugh at that person, because we know that strength comes from showing up consistently, pushing through resistance, and honoring the effort as part of the process. Yet strangely, when it comes to love, so many people buy into the fantasy that if it's truly meant to be, it should feel completely effortless. They say things like, if I have to try, maybe it's not right, as if the very act of investing energy in a relationship is somehow proof of weakness rather than commitment. But the truth is exactly the opposite. Effort is not what makes love questionable. Effort is what makes love real. The daily actions we take are what breathe life into a relationship. Love is not sustained by grand gestures alone. It is sustained by the small, repeated choices to prioritize each other. It's in remembering to ask how their day went and actually listening to the answer. It's in compromising when your partner needs support, even if it costs you convenience. It's in apologizing when you know you've hurt them, even if pride whispers otherwise. These small investments may not look dramatic, but they accumulate into a reservoir of trust and connection that keeps the relationship alive. Without consistent effort, love doesn't just stagnate, it begins to decay. Just as a plant wilts without water, a relationship weakens without ongoing care. When someone says they want a relationship that is easy, what they often mean is they want a relationship without accountability. But accountability is part of what makes two people grow closer. Effort is the demonstration of value. It says, I choose you. I don't just want the honeymoon version of you. I want the real you every day, even when it requires me to show up differently. That choice, repeated over time, becomes the foundation of trust. When you know your partner is willing to put in effort, it gives you the security to put in your own, and that mutual investment creates an unshakable bond. If you look at the couples who have stayed together for decades, you won't find people who say, "It was easy from day one, and we never had to work at it." Instead, you'll hear stories of challenges they overcame, times they had to fight for the relationship, seasons where they had to reinvent how they loved one another. What makes those stories powerful is not that love was easy, but that love was worth the effort. And that is the mindset that transforms relationships, understanding that the work you put in is not a sign of struggle, it is a sign of devotion. The right relationship will never be effortless, but it will always be worthy of every ounce of effort you give. If a relationship feels completely easy all the time, chances are it has not yet touched the depths of true intimacy. Surface-level connections are often smooth because they avoid the difficult conversations, the vulnerable admissions, and the raw truths that lie beneath polished appearances. It feels simple to laugh together, to enjoy dinners, to flirt and share light moments. But the test of a relationship isn't how easy it feels in those light-hearted moments. It's how safe it feels when you reveal the parts of yourself that aren't perfect. Easy can be comfortable, but comfort without depth eventually becomes emptiness. A relationship that never stretches into uncomfortable spaces is one that risks remaining shallow, unable to withstand the real challenges that life inevitably brings. True intimacy is forged in vulnerability. That means opening up about your fears, your insecurities, your doubts, and even the messy parts of your past that you might prefer to keep hidden. Vulnerability never feels easy. It requires courage because it carries risk. The risk of rejection, of misunderstanding, of not being accepted for who you are. Yet it is only when we take that risk that we discover whether the bond is truly strong. When someone leans into those tender conversations and says, "I see you, all of you, and I'm still here," the relationship shifts from being just enjoyable to being profound. That kind of reassurance doesn't come from things being effortless. It comes from both partners showing up fully, even when it feels hard. The idea that easy equals right often tricks people into running from relationships that are on the verge of real growth. The first time a difficult subject comes up, finances, family issues, future plans, many assume the friction means incompatibility. In reality, those moments are doorways to greater depth. They force us to step beyond the shallow waters and dive into the deeper currents of what it really means to build a life together. It's not easy to discuss money habits or confront personal baggage, but those conversations are the bricks and mortar of lasting connection. Avoiding them for the sake of ease only leaves cracks in the foundation. On the other side of discomfort lies depth, trust, and resilience. The couples who are truly bonded aren't the ones who never argue or struggle. They are the ones who go through the struggle and come out stronger. They have faced their differences, leaned into vulnerability, and built a level of trust that cannot be achieved without discomfort. Easy might feel attractive at first, but easy never builds the kind of connection that survives storms. Deep love is not easy love, but it is love that lasts. The real measure of a relationship is not whether it feels easy, but whether it inspires growth. When two people come together, the right connection doesn't simply keep them comfortable where they already are. It challenges them to stretch, to evolve, and to rise above their old limitations. A relationship that only preserves who you were when you first entered it may feel safe, but it often leaves you stagnant. Growth is sometimes uncomfortable, and it rarely feels effortless. Yet it is through that discomfort that love becomes transformative, shaping us into stronger, more compassionate, and more capable versions of ourselves. The right relationship is not a retreat from the challenges of life, but a partnership that equips you to face those challenges with courage. Think about it. If your partner never challenged you, if they never held up a mirror to your blind spots, or encouraged you to push beyond your fears, you would remain stuck in the same patterns forever. Growth comes from tension. The tension between who you are now and who you have the potential to become. The right relationship doesn't demand perfection, but it does invite progress. It urges you to communicate more clearly, to take responsibility for your actions, to practice forgiveness even when it feels hard, and to love with more depth and patience than you thought possible. These are not easy lessons, but they are invaluable ones, and they only emerge when two people are committed enough to endure the growing pains together. There is also a quiet beauty in being challenged by someone who loves you. It's one thing to be criticized by the outside world, it's another to be gently called higher by someone who believes in you. When a partner says, "I know you can do better," it is not an attack, it is an invitation to step into your potential. At times, that may feel uncomfortable or even frustrating, because growth often requires us to shed habits or mindsets we've clung to for years. But when it's done within the safety of love, that challenge becomes a gift. Instead of resenting it, we come to see it as one of the most powerful ways love can transform us. The truth is, no meaningful relationship is ever just about comfort. Comfort can keep us together for a while, but it is growth that sustains us for the long haul. Growth ensures that the connection doesn't stagnate, that both people continue to evolve individually and as a team. And as you look back years later, you realize that the struggles, the difficult conversations, the uncomfortable truth, all of it was the very thing that made the bond so unshakable. The right relationship may not always feel easy, but it will always make you grow. And that growth is the greatest evidence that you've found something truly worth holding on to. When people say, "When it's right, it's easy," they sell us a fairy tale that leaves us unprepared for real love. The truth is that relationships worth having will test us. They will stretch us, frustrate us, and sometimes even scare us with the level of vulnerability they require. But it is in those very moments, the disagreements, the misunderstandings, the times we must confront our own flaws, that love is actually forged. If everything were truly easy, we would never discover the depth of our resilience or the strength of our bond. The beauty of love is not that it is without challenges, but that we are willing to face those challenges together. Love is not sustained by fantasy, it is sustained by choice. Day after day, we choose to show up, to give effort, to listen, and to fight for the connection we believe in. Those choices are not always glamorous. Sometimes they look like compromise, sometimes they look like uncomfortable conversations, and sometimes they look like forgiveness when our pride wants revenge. But these choices are what water the roots of the relationship. They keep it alive when the initial excitement fades, when life gets heavy, or when external pressures threaten to pull us apart. A relationship that endures is not the one that was easiest. It is the one that was continually chosen. The couples who inspire us, the ones who have decades of love behind them, will never tell you that it was easy. They will tell you that it was worth it. They'll tell you about the moments they almost gave up, about the nights they stayed up until sunrise working through their differences, about the storms they endured side by side, and they'll tell you that those very trials became the glue that held them together. Their love didn't survive in spite of the effort, it survived because of it. That's what makes their story powerful, not that they had an effortless connection, but that they chose to build one brick by brick through persistence, patience, and loyalty. So when we rethink this old saying, let us replace it with a new truth. When it's right, it's not always easy, but it will always be meaningful. The right relationship won't eliminate challenges, it will redefine them. Instead of obstacles, they become opportunities to grow closer, to love deeper, and to become stronger as individuals and as a team. If you're lucky enough to find that kind of connection, don't run when it gets hard. Lean in, because the difficulty isn't a sign you've got it wrong. It's often the clearest sign that you've got something real, something extraordinary, and something worth holding on to for the rest of your life. Thank you so much for watching and being part of this journey. Your time and support mean the world. If this message touched you, inspired you, or gave you something to think about, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss future content. Every view, every comment, and every interaction helps this community grow stronger, and I'm truly grateful to have you here. Until next time, take care of yourself, cherish the people who matter, and always remember, you deserve a love and a life that feels meaningful, not just easy. See you in the next video. Goodbye and much love to you all.